Have you ever wondered why you've been through storms that should have taken you out? Yet here you are. Why you faced battles that should have broken you, but you're still standing stronger than before. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That is the undeniable evidence that God has placed a shield over your life. When the enemy came rushing in like a flood, that shield stood between you and destruction. Today I want to show you 5 signs that God Himself has covered you. Because if you recognize them, you'll stop doubting your destiny and start walking in divine confidence. Have you ever taken a moment to look back at the battles you've fought and the storms you've survived? Think about it. There were seasons in your life where the weight was so heavy that even you thought, this is it. I can't make it out of this. Yet here you are, breathing, standing, moving forward. That's not a coincidence. That's not something you can explain away as luck or strength. That is evidence that you were covered, shielded, and protected by something greater than yourself. Remember that situation that should have broken you? The pain that was so deep, you wondered if you would ever smile again? The betrayal that cut so hard, you didn't think you would recover? But somehow, even when the odds were stacked against you, you made it out. That's because you had a shield around you. You didn't see it, but it was there. And every time the enemy whispered, this is the end, that shield said, not today. My child still has a purpose. If you really think about it, there were moments you shouldn't have walked away from. That accident that should have ended your life, but it didn't. That diagnosis that should have taken you out, but somehow healing came. That heartbreak that should have left you bitter and broken, but instead it made you wiser and stronger. That's not normal survival. That's supernatural survival. That is the hand of God covering you when danger was near. If you're still breathing after everything you've been through, it's because your story isn't finished yet. And here's what you need to understand. Every storm you survived was a setup for the destiny ahead. The enemy tried everything to stop you because he knew what was inside you. He knew that if you ever discovered the power of what God placed in you, nothing could hold you back. So he sent trials, pain, betrayal, loss, all of it. But the shield over your life refused to let those things destroy you. You've got to see the pattern. If you survived that situation when you had nothing, what makes you think you won't make it through what you're facing now? If the shield worked then, it will work now. Every close call, every should have been the end moment was proof of protection. You think it was just luck you weren't in that car at the wrong time. You think it was coincidence that the wrong decision didn't ruin your life. No, that was the shield. That was God stepping in when you didn't even know danger was near. Let this sink in. The fact that you survived what others didn't is not because you were stronger, smarter, or better. It's because you were chosen. There's something about your life that required divine intervention. You were preserved because there is a calling attached to you. And when there's a calling, there's always a covering. That's why you couldn't die in that storm. That's why you couldn't quit in that valley. That's why the attack didn't destroy you like it destroyed others. Think about those moments when you thought it was over. You cried, you prayed, you begged for relief. You felt like the weight of the world was crushing you. And then suddenly, somehow you made it through. You didn't think you could, but you did. That's your evidence. That's the proof that even in your weakest moment, you were surrounded by strength you couldn't see. And every time you thought you were alone, you were actually in the safest place you could ever be. Have you noticed how every time an attack comes against you, it doesn't take you out? Instead, it pushes you higher. Have you realized that what was meant to break you ends up building you? That's not an accident. That's a sign you're covered by something greater than the fight you're in. You see, when God puts a shield over you, every attack that comes your way has to go through Him first. That means the enemy can try, but he can never triumph. He can send a storm, but he can't control the outcome. Let's be real. There have been moments when you were under fire from every direction. You faced betrayal from people you trusted, opposition from places you didn't expect, and problems you never saw coming. The enemy threw his best shot at you, thinking it would crush you. But what happened? You didn't just survive, you came out stronger. You came out wiser. You came out more determined than ever. That's because when you are shielded, an attack is not the end of you, it's the beginning of your next level. Every time you're attacked, heaven is positioning you for advancement. Why do you think the enemy is so focused on you? He's not attacking you because you're weak. He's attacking because you're a threat. You are carrying something he cannot stop, and that's why he tries to discourage you, delay you, and distract you. But the shield of God won't let him destroy you. The very fact that you are still standing after everything you've been through is proof that the enemy's weapons can form, but they will never prosper. Think about it. There were times you thought, this is the one that's going to take me out. You felt like you couldn't take another hit. You thought that betrayal would break you. You thought that bad report would end your joy. You thought that loss would end your future. But what happened? You didn't just get through it, you grew through it. That's what divine protection does. It takes the enemy's plan and flips it for your good. What was designed to bury you ends up building you. Look at your life. The attacks didn't make you weaker. They made you stronger. The pain didn't make you bitter. It made you wiser. The delay didn't stop your destiny. It deepened your faith. The very things the enemy hoped would destroy you became the training ground for your victory. That's why every time you're attacked, you need to recognize what's really happening. You're being prepared for something greater. The pressure you feel is a sign that there is power in you that the enemy fears. And let me tell you this, people who don't carry purpose don't face the kind of pressure you do. People who aren't dangerous to the kingdom of darkness don't get hit the way you get hit. If the enemy is fighting you this hard, it's because you're carrying something that's about to shake things up. That's why the attack seems so strategic, so personal, so relentless, because he knows what's coming if you win. But here's the truth. You've already won. Every battle you faced was already factored into the plan for your life. The shield over you guarantees that what was sent to destroy you will become the very thing that launches you into your destiny. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, how in the world am I this calm right now? When life was collapsing, bills were piling up, relationships were breaking apart, your health was under attack, yet somehow there was this unshakable calm on the inside of you. That's not because you ignored the storm. That's because you were shielded in the storm. There's a peace that makes no sense to the human mind. A peace that shouldn't exist in chaos, but it does because God placed it there. Real peace isn't when everything is perfect. Real peace is when everything is falling apart, and you're still standing with a steady heart. When you're shielded by God, chaos can't control you. The same waves that drown others can't take you under, because the shield covers your mind, your heart, and your spirit. That's why people look at you and wonder, how are you still smiling? How are you still hopeful? And you can't even explain it, because you know it's not you, it's something greater holding you together. Think back to the last storm you went through. You cried, yes. You felt the weight of it, yes. But did you notice that even in the heaviness, you never lost all hope? You never fully broke down. There was something inside whispering, hold on, this isn't the end. That's the shield at work. That peace was a signal that you were not alone in the fight. If you had to fight that battle by yourself, you would have lost your mind. But instead, there was an anchor holding you down when the waves tried to pull you under. Listen carefully. Peace in chaos is not natural. It's supernatural. The world says, I'll have peace when the storm ends. But when God shields you, you have peace before the storm ends. While others panic, you pause. While others give up, you keep going. That calm spirit is not weakness, it's strength wrapped in faith. And that strength is the evidence that heaven has covered you. If you've ever been through a moment where everything said you should break, but somehow you didn't, that was God's protection over your mind. Do you realize how valuable peace is? People lose sleep over things you face every day. People collapse under pressure that you carry with grace. Why? Because you are shielded. Your mind is guarded. The enemy wanted you to live in fear, to drown in anxiety, to crumble under stress. But the shield of God said no. And here's the powerful thing. Peace in chaos confuses the enemy. He expects the fire to burn you up, but you're walking through it cool and calm. He expects the storm to make you scream, but you're walking on the water instead of sinking. That's because peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of God in the middle of the problem. It's a sign that even though the attack is real, the outcome is already handled. That's why you can breathe when others are suffocating. That's why you can smile when others are breaking. That's why you can rest even when the battle isn't over. Because peace is not something you create. It's something God gives when He shields you. Have you ever cried over a door that closed in your life? Maybe it was a job you wanted so badly, a relationship you prayed for, an opportunity you thought was perfect. You begged God to make it happen, but instead it slipped away. And at that moment it felt like rejection. It felt like failure. It felt like God had forgotten you. But what if that no was never punishment, it was protection? What if that closed door was not the end of your story, but the beginning of your safety? Hook into this truth. Sometimes the greatest blessings come disguised as disappointment. Sometimes the most loving thing God can do is shut the very door you were desperate to walk through. Because behind that door was something you couldn't see. Danger, destruction, heartbreak, disaster. And while you were saying, God, why didn't you let me in? He was saying, because I love you too much to let you settle for something that would have destroyed you. Think about a time you wanted something so badly you thought your life depended on it. Maybe it was that relationship you just knew was the one. Maybe it was that position you thought would change everything. You prayed, you planned, you positioned yourself, and then out of nowhere the door slammed shut. You were left confused, angry, and hurt. But years later, didn't you look back and say, thank God that didn't work out? Didn't you realize that what you thought was rejection was actually redirection? That's not by accident. That's divine shielding at its finest. Rejection is not always rejection, it's redirection and protection wrapped in grace. Every time a door closed on you, it was God blocking something that would have harmed your future. That's why you can't get stuck crying over doors that didn't open. Because if you knew what was behind some of the doors you prayed for, you would drop to your knees and thank God they stayed locked. The truth is, you don't always see what He sees. You don't know the traps, the toxic connections, the hidden dangers waiting behind certain opportunities. But God does. So when He closes a door, it's not to break your heart, it's to save your life. He knows that your purpose is too important to be tied to the wrong people, the wrong places, or the wrong plans. That's why His no is never random. His no is a shield. His no is an answer to a prayer you didn't even know to pray. Every closed door is a sign that something better is coming. When one door shuts, it means that door wasn't built to carry the weight of your destiny. It means that door couldn't handle the greatness inside of you. You think you lost something, but what you really lost was a trap. What you really lost was a limitation. You didn't lose. God lifted you out of something that would have delayed or destroyed you. So the next time a door closes and you feel like giving up, remind yourself of this. The same God who protected you from what you didn't know is preparing you for what you can't imagine. Closed doors are not the end. They're the evidence that heaven is still watching over your steps. And if a door is closed, it's because your shield said, not here, not this, not now. Have you ever wondered why you're still here? After everything you've faced, after every storm, every setback, every loss, why are you still standing? It's because you are still on assignment. If you woke up today, that means God still has work for you to do. That means your purpose is bigger than your pain. You didn't survive by accident. You survived because you're significant. There's a reason the enemy fought you so hard. There's a reason life tried to break you. There's a reason the storm raged as fiercely as it did. Because the enemy doesn't waste energy on people who don't matter. He doesn't attack what doesn't threaten him. The very fact that you face so much opposition is proof that you are carrying something powerful inside you. And the fact that you're still here breathing, moving forward, even after everything, that's your sign that your story isn't finished yet. Think about all the moments when you thought, this is it. I can't make it through this one. Think about the nights you cried yourself to sleep thinking it was over. Think about the times you almost gave up because the weight felt too heavy. But here you are, still fighting, still pressing, still standing. That's not because you never fell. It's because every time you fell, you got back up. That's because the shield over your life refused to let you stay down. Hook into this reality. If you were truly finished, you wouldn't still be here. If your purpose was over, you wouldn't have breath in your lungs. The fact that you woke up today is heaven's way of saying, I'm not done with you yet. That means there are prayers you haven't seen answered yet. There are dreams that haven't come to life yet. There are victories you haven't walked into yet. And as long as you're alive, you're not defeated, you're in development. And here's something powerful. You didn't just survive what you went through, you outlived it. The pain you thought would last forever is now a testimony. The season that felt endless now feels like a chapter, not the whole book. You outlasted storms that should have drowned you. You outlasted battles that should have broken you. And you didn't just come out, you came out stronger, wiser, and more determined. That's not by chance, that's by divine design. You were preserved for a purpose. There's a calling on your life that required protection. That's why the enemy tried to silence you before you discovered who you are. That's why you faced what you faced, because the greatness inside of you terrified him. But no attack, no setback, no weapon could stop what God already started. You're still here because your mission is still alive. And when you understand that, fear loses its power. Because if what you went through couldn't kill you, nothing ahead can stop you. Every scar you carry is a story. Every tear you cried was a seed. Every setback you faced was a setup for the comeback that's coming. You're still here because the world hasn't seen the best of you yet. You're still here because there are people connected to your assignment who need what you carry. And you're still here because when God places a shield over your life, nothing, not even your lowest moments, can take you out. Have you noticed something about your life? The things that were supposed to break you ended up building you. The situations that should have crushed you ended up shaping you into the person you are today. Every attack that came against you didn't push you down. It pushed you forward. That's not because life has been easy. That's because God turned every weapon the enemy formed into a tool for your growth. That's what happens when you're covered. What was designed for evil becomes an instrument for elevation. Every attack you faced was actually a promotion in disguise. Every battle was a classroom. Every setback was a lesson. You may not have seen it in the moment, but now, looking back, you realize that the pain taught you perseverance. The betrayal taught you discernment. The loss taught you gratitude, and the struggle taught you strength. The enemy thought he was writing your ending, but he was only helping write your testimony. Think about the hardest season of your life, the one you thought would destroy you. At the time, it felt like everything was falling apart. You cried. You questioned. You wondered why God allowed it. But now, look at you. You didn't just survive that season. You came out of it with wisdom you never had before. You came out stronger, bolder, wiser. That's because when you're under divine protection, even the attacks are forced to work in your favor. The enemy thought he was breaking you, but he was building you. He thought he was burying you, but he didn't realize you were a seed. And when you're a seed, being buried doesn't kill you, it activates you. What looked like the end was actually the beginning of something greater. That's why you can't despise your pain, because the very thing that hurt you the most is the thing God will use the most. Every tear you cried watered the soil for your future. Every sleepless night planted strength inside of you. Every betrayal birthed a resilience that nothing can shake. So now when you face new challenges, you carry something you didn't have before. A confidence that says, if I made it through that, I can make it through this. That's what happens when every attack becomes an advantage. It turns your wounds into weapons. It turns your losses into leverage. Hook into this. People see your strength, but they don't know your story. They see your smile, but they don't know the storms you came through to wear it. And what they don't realize is that the reason you shine so bright is because you've walked through the darkest valleys and made it out. You learned how to fight. You learned how to trust. You learned how to keep moving when everything in you wanted to stop. And now every time the enemy tries to come at you, he's facing someone who knows how to turn pain into power. You see, nothing was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the struggle, not the loss. It all served a purpose. It all worked